I've been diagnosed as a catastrophizer, which means I've been diagnosed clinically as being dramatic. I was told I was shit every day at university and that I'm never going to be anything. I guess that's supposed to weed out the weaker people. Most of us ended up having severe psychological kind of distress.
But behind the sparkle, there's a woman who's lost people she loved, who almost gave it all up.
When a man walks on stage, you kind of trust it, right? You're like, oh, it's going to be funny. And as soon as a woman walks out on stage, all the women in the audience like, what is she wearing? That's what they're looking at.
Meet Elena Gabrielle. 700 shows, 65 countries, 40 million people laughing.
I got off stage after killing, murdering. It was a very, very good show and everyone was laughing. And he came off and he's like, oh my God, that was such a great set. You should do comedy.
Tonight, she's not on stage. She's just Elena. And this is her story.
We have other women to help us and to support us. Never be scared. If you have something you want to do in life, there's always going to be a community there to support you and to help you along the way, and to never be scared of failure. Oh, am I in?
That's how we're going to kick off.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Love it. Elena, you've been a comedian for over a decade now, but I know that you've had a few steps in between and stops, I would say, in theater, cabaret, maybe a bit of corporate here and there as well. So I'm really curious. I really want to know, bring us back to that moment or moments when you realized that you want to be a freaking awesome comedian.
Oh, wow. Do you know what? People sort of ask me this question a lot. And I think some comics have this, where they have this kind of snap moment. I have a few friends that have worked in office jobs and this kind of stuff. And then they sort of just I don't know, they wake up and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be a comedian. And I think the difference with myself is I feel like that's always been in me. I don't ever feel, I don't think there was, even as a kid, there was anything else that I could possibly do with my life. I was always the front of every school play, every school assembly. I was always out the front. You could only hear me when there was singing the national anthem or whatever. And I think, yeah, I had some times. I finished high school, I went to university and I studied musical theatre. As I was always a theatre drama kid, which kind of, you look at me.
The drama has always been in you.
The drama has always been there in many aspects of my life. Even in my personal life, I'm very dramatic and this kind of stuff. We can talk later, but I have been diagnosed as a catastrophizer, which basically just means I've been diagnosed clinically as being dramatic, which is nice. So I think my whole life is very like that. And I think comedy came a little bit later. I was always musical theatre and cabaret. And the thing I love about being a performer is there's so many different aspects to being a performer. You can be an actor, you can be a singer-songwriter, you can be, I don't know, a comedian, a different kind of musician. There's so many professions under the umbrella of being an artist. And so I love that sort of dipping in and out of different. And in my 20s, I tried a lot of different styles. And then I sort of towards the end of my 20s became to comedy. And I was and I think always back in my mind, it was always something that I wanted to do growing up watching comedy. And then I found my way there. And and now I'm here and I love it. And it's amazing. It's a really, really cool job.
I've danced for quite a few years, so I know what it is to be on stage. Yeah. But there's a lot of pressure as well. So I know that you can get the energy and the flow from the audience, but at the same time, there is always the pressure to perform, to be good, to be great, to be perfect. Can you tell me about that pressure? Do you have it? Do you feel it?
Yeah, I think every artist has dancing or acting or singing or whatever, being a comedian, there is an element of perfectionism. And I think that mainly it depends, right? So I know a lot of comics that haven't come from a theatre background or a dance background or a musical theatre background. And I think some of them can be a little bit more chill about the way that they perform. There's not so much a focus on being perfect. But I think definitely coming from a dance world, a singing world, a musical theatre world, it's all through high school and doing professional and amateur musical theatre is you have this pressure all the time, like to be better, to try and find the best, and you're never perfect enough. And when I went to university, that was a lot of like the coaching and the guiding, and with us was always like, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you've got to be better, 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 better. And I see my friends who are dancers, who are ex-ballerinas and all that, like they have that too. And I mean, I love working with people like that because like, I'm like, oh, I get it. Like I've, was told I was shit every day at university and that I'm never going to be anything. And, and I guess that's supposed to weed out the weaker people, which I mean, depending on how, but most of us ended up having like severe psychological kind of distress after that. But yeah, I think the pressure to be perfect, it's always there. But I think as I've gotten older, particularly probably in the last few years, having gone through like stuff in my personal life, like it just kind of goes, actually, like the strive for perfection, it's not that important. Like there's more important things in life than trying to be perfect. And I think especially on stage, as long as you're being authentic to yourself, that's what the audience, they pick up on. Maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, they're like, okay, this person's being authentic. And I think that's why a lot of comedians now, people are sort of seeking them out for I don't know, political opinion or, for guidance in life. And I mean, we're just the jokers, right? Like we're just jesters and making people laugh. But I think there's truth in that too, that people can relate to. So yeah, I think, I don't know, I always want to be perfect, but I know that with comedy, it's quite difficult to be perfect in comedy, right? Because it's more about relatability in the audience, and you're never going to be accepted by every single person. And that's what it teaches you, I think, with comedy, yeah.
Before we go deeper into comedy, I wonder, because I've had a few touch points with you as a person, not on stage, but I've watched a few, of course, of your performances. To what extent, when you're on the stage, it's a performance, and to what extent it's actually you as you are as a human?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much 100% me, and I think there's some times where like, I think the most difficult thing, kind of relating back to your last question about sort of the pressure from to be funny, I think most of that pressure comes when I'm myself out in the real world and people are like, oh, you're a comedian, be funny, like, or entertain us. And that's where I kind of get like, I'm like, oh, I don't tell me to be funny right now, because that's like never going to happen. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, I'm trying to be my best self in my job and in my career. And sorry, I just need to go back. I got lost on a tangent of the question. What was it? Can you just repeat the question again?
My question was, I forgot even my question.
Yeah.
Oh, to what extent you feel like you are fully yourself on stage?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's the question. Yeah, I think it's like 100%, mostly, like maybe 95%, because you still have to be a certain character, right, on stage. And I think even when I've dated people in the past, or I've really had to sort of break that down and be like, the person that I'm on stage is me, but it's like a heightened version of me. And going back to when I was like in cabaret and doing a lot more musical theatre, it was a lot easier to be on stage because you were a character. So you could hide behind, like, you had a wig on, you had makeup on, like, and you're a character. It wasn't you. And I think that was always easier. And that took me a long time to kind of, kind of find myself and to be Elena Gabrielle, not like a character on stage. But everything is steeped in truth. A lot of people ask me if my stories are real. And for the most part, like most of them are real. And if they're not real, they're like, it's, we're still writers and entertainers at the end of the day. But most of the time it would be like three, like especially with the dating stories, it would be like three guys just morphed into one story. Or maybe my best friend had a funny experience and I'll just put that into a story that happened to me. So it just kind of punches up and makes it more funny. And in that way. So I think authentic, it's me. It's definitely me. And that's what I love about comedy, because it's when a comedian, like that's why so many comedians are different, because everyone has their own voice, has their own story to tell. So yeah, I like to think I'm pretty same me on off stage.
And I love that. I mean, I think I can pick it up, I can see it. But at the same time, I wonder often with people who are on stage, who are performance at the end of the day, to what extent it becomes a job, and to what extent it just, you are still pursuing your passion and your love and things that you genuinely are passionate about.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of comics that do this as a hobby. And I think when it becomes a full-time job, it's a lot more difficult to I don't want to say difficult, but like when it does become a full-time job, you sort of don't know, sometimes like reality and like the performance all kind of like mesh into one another. And also as well, like when you become a full-time comic, I don't know, you sort of live on tour, right? So you're always at airports, you're always traveling. If you choose to do that, a lot of comics do choose to just stay in their own city. But when you do travel, you're sort of not really living, right? And comedy is about relatability. So if you're like, this is why super famous comedians, they end up sort of not being relatable anymore. Like you think about people like Kevin Hart, or, you know, they come out and they're like, I've got 5 Lamborghinis. And it's like your average person took the subway there to the, you know, the gig. And so, I mean, at that point, they're already so famous, it doesn't really matter. But I think there's kind of a nice balance of being not super well known and still being able to experience life to make that comedy. It's like a nice little Venn diagram that you sort of have to sit in the middle of it. Which is always interesting to try and like, just, I don't know, try and still live. Like that's why now I'm taking some time, like a little bit of a sabbatical and taking some time off and just kind of, because you do need those times of down and subconscious and not being stressed running around the world to write and have a life as well. So
I always wonder with obviously, especially bigger performance, how does life happen when you're constantly on tour? Like, do you actually have a life, or is it just work mode on for a particular period of time and then you eventually come back to being a normal human being?
Yeah, it's not normal. And you kind of, I mean, I'm trying to balance it out now, but the reality is that you have to do a tour very like close together. Like you have to really, because I mean, financially, logistically, it makes more sense. If you're doing a show every 2 weeks, which is what I'm doing now, I feel like I'm not in the flow of being a comic, right? Like I'll forget jokes. And that's why like the more compact you have your tour, the better it is, the better you get at the end of it. And the tighter the show gets and everything. So yeah, I don't know, like I don't really like doing this kind of like, you know, 1 week off, 1 week on kind of show stuff. But I'm trying to find the balance, because when 2018 and 2019 and most of 2020, before the like pandemic and also after the pandemic started, I was on the road like full time. I was living on the road. I had just carry-on luggage. 2018 did 350 shows in 65 countries in 1 year, right? So it was like just wake up, travel, do a show, go to sleep, wake up, travel. Like it was just that on the grind. It was an amazing experience, but like I felt like in those moments, I felt like I could understand how some celebrities have gone crazy, right? Like you see, you know, maybe child stars or like people, even like Britney Spears, for example, like, and I was like, okay, like I'm not at that level, but I have, my feet aren't on the ground. I'm flying every day. I'm staying in amazing like hotel suites, because you just, by the time you travel that much, you get like, you know, the top tier of like a Bonvoy Marriott loyalty program. And so you get upgraded all the time. You're getting these gorgeous suites and you're living this like rock star lifestyle, but you barely see your family. You barely see your friends. I don't know, you just like, you're in it. And I felt crazy, I think, a lot of the time, because I was like, I'm not paying rent. I'm not paying any bills. I just like, this isn't living, you know? And so I think after all that, I was kind of grateful. I know it's like a horrible thing to say, but I was kind of grateful for the pause that COVID lockdowns gave me, because I hadn't stopped for like 3.5 years and I'd just been go, go, go. And I think that gave me a lot of perspective to be like, okay, you can do this, but you have to do it in a balance. And also at that time I was single, and how do you find someone when you're just traveling all the time?
Well, but I'm very curious, and I guess the audience is as well. Do you actually need to tour that much to sustain financial freedom? Or was the reason behind, you mentioned, of course, logistically it makes sense when you're on the road, you have momentum. But what would happen if you were not to do that?
Yeah. Realistically, I think there's a fear that, I mean, you can make some good money on the road. Like financially, you can do quite well if you sort of know what you're doing. And I mean, the fear is that you won't make as much money, or like, I mean, you can always stay in a city, but it's a tough grind. Like big cities like London, New York, unless you're really well known on the circuit and you're doing a lot of shows, you don't probably earn as much as what you would, at least for me, that's like how it would be. But I was living in Berlin. I could have easily before I left to go on this crazy tour, I was running like monthly shows, which was enough for me to live in Berlin. Like Berlin was, back then it was a lot cheaper, and like I could cover my rent, I could do all that sort of stuff, take up a few gigs here and there. But I'm also that person that like I love traveling, I love touring, I love going to different cities, especially with shows. Like when I was 20, I had my first ever international tour, and I actually came to Indonesia of all places. I did shows. It was yeah, I know. So it's like kind of always nice to come back to Indonesia and do shows. But I was here as in different capacity. I was here for a Disney tour, so I did shows. I was Snow White, which I know doesn't make sense with this blonde hair, but back then I had short brown
with your
hair.
dirty mouth, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean now like Disney would have absolutely nothing to do with me. I totally get that.
Who?
Yeah, no, we don't know her. But I mean, it was Disney Indonesia, so they were a lot more lax than other Disneys in the world. And yeah, we did some shows in Medan and Surabaya, and I just remember on that trip I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I want to do this. I want to travel and I want to perform. Like that's my goal in life. And I think I always kind of worked towards it. And then when I moved to Europe and was able to do shows in Prague and then start doing shows in London and then moving around, like I was like, this is it. Like, and that's what drives me as well. Like to be able to also come here to Bali and do like shows here and meet like awesome people, right? And in all the places I go to, and then you start making friends, and then every time you come back and you have this beautiful network of people around the world, and that's how I was able to sustain it and not feel so lonely as well, like on the road after a while. But yeah, financially I don't know, I'm always a bit too scared to stay in the one place, and now I'm kind of used to it. My body's like so like, like ready for it and to go. Like after 2 weeks I'm like itching, I'm like gotta go somewhere. But yeah, we'll see. I think now in the next few years I'll probably like take a few more steps back and try and just chill out a bit.
So you're eventually officially out of Berlin.
Yes.
So can we say you're homeless right now?
I'm homeless, I know, and I'm a bit of a nomad at the moment, which fits well for club, Bali. I know, right? Although I feel like you have a fixed address.
For now, yeah. But we've been homeless for the last like 4 years.
Yeah. I think and I mean I'm used to it, but I do love having a home. So I moved to London last year to be with my partner, and then we sort of made the decision to sort of just leave London. Like I didn't like living in London. I loved living in Europe and Berlin and whatever, and so then now we're just sort of taking like a sabbatical and traveling, and probably end up living in Mumbai for probably about a year or something.
Oh,
so yeah,
for a year.
Yeah, well, that's like we're saying a year at the moment, and then we'll see what happens after that. So yeah.
But you mentioned that you're still gonna be touring. You're still gonna be flying out, being on shows. What's coming up for you?
Yeah, what's coming up? Well, now not so much. I'm going after I've just done some shows here in Bali and going to Singapore and Thailand for some shows, and then back to Europe for a week of shows in like Germany and these kind of places. So just like little kind of shows, and then later in the year I'll do a big tour back in Europe, and then hopefully I'll hit up the US and Canada again probably in like November, and then that'll be it for the year. So yeah, so it's like it's always cool, but it's great because I'm in control of where I go and what I do, and I think that I self-produce everything for that reason, because I think sort of when people sort of say like you have to go here or you have to do that, like now I can just go, oh no, like these are the cities I vibe with.
I'm grown-up woman.
Yeah, I know. I'm in control, like, and I'm able to just sort of choose where I want to go. And like, there's some cities that I just don't really like doing shows in. And I'm like, I sort of have a list of places that I'm like, I don't need to go back. Maybe if they might sell well, but I'm like, no,
Is it the city or is it the audience?
I think it's probably a mix of all of them, like the vibe, the city.
Maybe you had a situation or two there going on, and that's why you have some.
No. I think it's just like, I mean, I love Irish people, for example, and I go always to Dublin to do the podcast with my friend, and but doing shows there, I just never. I don't know. I've never really felt like I vibe with the audience, and so like, I was like, oh, I'll just go there, record the podcast and just leave. Like, I don't feel the need to do shows in that kind of way. So in that kind of way, it's like I like the city, but just to perform there is like a different kind of feeling. Whereas there's just some cities that I just love coming back to and love performing in. So Bali being like, one of them. So it's cool to be able to like figure out where you want to go.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have a big team supporting your whole organization. So is it only you?
It's me, and I have a personal assistant who works remotely for me as well. So
how does this work? Like, how do you manage to book the venues, to organize everything, the traveling, the logistics, who does take care of the marketing as well?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, you what? So you're a self-employed business owner.
Yeah,
/ comedian.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I have multiple personality disorder, but like I have I love the admin side of being a producer as well. Like I've been producing for like 18 years. The same, like I started self-producing when I first started doing my own cabarets in 2009. And I just loved it. I loved that, like booking the flights and getting the hotels and, putting a tour schedule together and blah, blah, blah. And that was always something I loved as well and has always kind of been in me. And that entrepreneurial kind of, I never considered myself an entrepreneur until like a university in Germany reached out. They're like, they do a course, a master's in entrepreneurship. And they asked me to come and talk to them. And I was like, that's stupid. Like, I don't know. And then I went there and I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I think
I might be an entrepreneur indeed.
Yeah. So I have a PA and she does everything mainly remotely. Like I taught her everything. I was like, this is just the main things is like setting up ticket sales, liaising with venues, signing contracts, doing all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff I don't really have a lot of time for. But marketing, I do all my own marketing, all my own social media, booking, logistics, all of that like is
insane.
Me. Yeah.
Because if I think about it, like just before, let's imagine you go on stage, and I'm sure you've had a few situations like that, something goes wrong with the venue. And so usually you would have a manager or something like that, somebody that gets in and discusses with the venue, and that's you.
Yeah, that's me.
And then you have to get on stage and perform still.
Yeah. I mean, at the most part, like I'm working with venues like I've kind of left a lot of these venues behind me where I feel like I have to be out there and, talking to people and stuff. But it does happen. Like, there's a couple of times where, things will happen, or I don't know, tickets were like the wrong time or something, and then people rock up and they get angry or like whatever. But I think because they don't think I'm the person in control, they're just like, oh, you're the comedian. Oh, can you? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll just let my team know. And now I'm like, releasing this to like everyone, and they're going to be like, oh, okay, right. That's just all her. But I think just years of practice and years of knowing like what to do. Or like I've had last year, was it last year? Yeah, last year I had, the year before now, I think it was. No, 2025, I think it was last year. And I had a venue. I had a sold out show of 160 people, and the venue just, I don't know, she went a bit mental and like was like, you can't do the show here now. Like it was all like, and like that was stressful because 24 hours before I had to find a completely new venue in the city and inform 160 people that, hey, by the way, like we're changing venues. Yeah. And so things like that, which can be stressful, but they don't happen very often now, I think, like, and at the end of the day, like, you just have to deal with it, like, when it goes.
I honestly think it's inspiring that you just decided to pursue what you actually thought that you were meant for, and here you are doing touring around the world.
Maybe crazy, I don't know, but it took a while to get here, right? Like, there was times where I was like, I didn't, like, this is always something I wanted to do, and there's always been times, particularly in my 20s, where I was like, I can't do this, like I don't know what I'm doing, just to get that visibility, to be able to, travel and tour. And I mean, also now, like a lot of self-producing people like myself or small content creators or whatever, like you're reliant so much on Meta, on Google, on YouTube, like all these platforms, which they can change their algorithms. And so then now, like on top of everything, you then have to be like an algorithm expert of like what is working. Yeah, right. So, and I mean, that sells tickets at the end of the day. So, I mean, I'm very lucky to be living in a time like this where you can do it all yourself, right? Whereas I think you know, when I first started producing, it was all like you had to go to local radio stations, you had to put posters up, you had to call every friend in the city that you knew to be like, hey, can you tell your friends about it, like word of mouth kind of situation. And it was very difficult. Like I couldn't even fathom coming overseas and doing a show and being able to sell tickets, right? So it's a lot easier now, I think, but still, yeah, a lot of work. Yeah.
Everything is work.
Everything is
Everything
work.
is work.
I know, yeah.
Can you remember, or do you remember the situation or maybe the show or the video where you thought to yourself, oh my God, I made it, or I'm going to make it?
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think a lot of comics and a lot of people who are always striving for, like, you know, something, like there's always something more. Like you could get, you know, oh, I got 1,000 followers or 10,000 followers or whatever. And then it's like, okay, then it's like you never really stop and acknowledge that. It's like, oh, okay, now it's the next thing. Now it's the next thing. And I was always like that, you know, you're always competing with yourself. It's like, oh no, I should be doing this, or comparing yourself to others. I should look at this comic, they're doing this, or look at this person, they're doing that. And I think I really tried to strip everything back. And I found a thing that I think I wrote when I was like 18. And it was like, what do I want, you know, what do I want to do in my life? Like a list of, like, you know, things I want to achieve. And I think it just said on it, as long as I'm traveling and performing, I'll be happy. And I kind of try and remind myself of that whenever I'm like, oh, yeah, but this guy's doing Netflix. My friend is, you know, on JFL. My friend is doing this and like whatever. And I think at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm in control of my life. I can take a 3-month sabbatical like I'm doing right now. I'm not beholden to anyone. And I have a say in my own company and my own business, and I can write and say what I want to say. And yeah, and I'm like, at the end of the day, like I'm a full-time comedian, and there's so many comics. There's many comics. I think even in New York, there's like 50,000 people who say they're a comic, right? And to be a full-time comic, to be earning good money and living the way that I do, like people would kill for that. And I just keep trying to remind myself of that. And my boyfriend's very helpful in that. He's like, no, like you need to remind yourself of like this. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true. So I think I think back, like, you know, I think probably 2018 was like the biggest year where I made decent money. I was seeing the world. I was like, you know, having these great shows. I felt like I was getting better as a comedian. And I was like, yeah, this is it. Like end of 2018, I did one of the biggest shows we did of that year, which was like, I think 500-600 people in a show in Calgary in Canada. And it's just like when you have the audience in the palm of your hand and you're like, okay, like I'm making them laugh. They're having a good time to this many people. It's like, okay, like, yeah, you know, you're doing it. And it's like, okay, that's cool.
Is this the biggest venue you've filled?
Filled, I think like solo I've probably done. Yeah, that was like with another show. That was a storytelling show which had 600 people, like, which was me and another comic. But I think solo is like probably about like 400. I think was probably like probably max I've had. But I love big shows are great, and like don't get me wrong, like I would, if I could sell like 1,000-seater like theater, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. But I do love these like intimate ones as well, because they're the ones where like you really, I don't know, you can really, and that's what I truly believe comedy and cabaret is supposed to be, in a small venue where people are in like a dark room. It feels almost like, yeah, and it feels almost like we shouldn't be here. What are we listening to? This is like, and that's what I love. And I'm also from a theater background where it's like in a black box theater, everyone's like in there together and we're just experiencing this, and it's magic, right? When it goes well, when it goes well. When it doesn't go well, it's not great, but it's it's fun.
Do you know what I'm thinking? And there's so many things I want to talk about, so I'm just going to try to structure my thoughts. Comedy is, I would say, as many other fields, run by men, or the majority of the comedians are primarily male. How is it for a woman, self-produced one as well, to survive in that field, I would say, or to get any respect from the colleagues, so just colleagues, if you can call them so. Short break. If you love this episode, make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, and give it a thumbs up. And you're going to find our social media together with Elena in the description below. Now back to the episode.
I think for me, I've never really felt too much of it. Like, don't get me wrong, like there's times where I'm like, I know life would be a lot easier as a male comic, right? And a straight male comic. I'm not saying like because it's. I realized it very quickly because I'd come from a cabaret background where the audiences are they're more liberal, right? Not many people know what cabaret is, or like this kind of like burlesque. Like I was hosting a lot of burlesque shows. So it's very female focused. It's run by a lot of women. A lot of the women are the dancers, like, and you're working very much with like kind of alongside queer entertainers as well. So it's very, very liberal. And then I sort of came into comedy and I was like, oh, okay, this is very, very different. And I think when I first kind of started, I was noticing that like the way that the audience, and I was guilty of doing that as well. Like as soon as the MC would say it's a female comic coming on stage, automatically you just kind of like, oh, okay. Like there's this common misconception that women aren't funny, right? Like this is, and I've spoken about a lot of this at length about just these men who are like, women aren't funny. And that's, I mean, it's probably the patriarchy, right? Just being like, okay, no, women aren't funny. Let's keep them down. And when you think about like when a man walks on stage, the automatically is like, you kind of trust it, right? You're like, oh, it's going to be funny.
He's a man, he's got it.
Yeah, he's got it. And as soon as a woman walks out on stage, all the women in the audience, like, what is she wearing? What does she look like? What is like, you know, like there's a judgment in that way before she's even opened her mouth. And the men are like, oh, you know, like the brain dick situation. Like, would I fuck her? Is she, like, you know, like this, or is she like, you know, like that's what they're looking at. And so I think you do have to work twice as hard for the audience. But I think also like I've had some men say some, like in more older clubs, I think now it's a lot different. But I remember I did a show in Vancouver years ago, and it was run by this like guy who's probably been around since the 70s. Like he was an older guy, probably in his like 60s. And I got off stage after like killing, like murdering. I don't say that, it was a very, very good show and everyone was laughing. It was such a good show. And he came off and he's like, oh my God, that was such a great, great set. You should do comedy. And I was like, sorry, what? And it was, and my partner was there at the time and he was like, he looked at him and he was like, what was that, right? Like, and after that he was like, oh, I didn't realize that women would get like, you know, that kind of to their face. And I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, that women aren't funny, and you get a lot of stuff online or whatever. But colleagues wise, it's okay, it's getting better, but it's still dominated by men. Like I think there's only like, still it's like the ratio of like female comics to male is like, I don't know, 1 or maybe 2 female comics to like 8 male comics, right? And there's been a lot of times where I'm like, there was one time I was it was me and another girl on a lineup. It was like 10 men and us 2. And she was brand new. She was a new comic. And I was headlining at the end of the show. And she went out and she was brand new, so she didn't do very well. Like she got out and like the audience was just like, and I could see in the men in the audience, I could see that they were like, ugh, see, women aren't funny, right? Like I could see it, I could feel it. And I wanted to do new material, but I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I can't. Like I have to literally go out there now. And I mean, I don't have to. I could go out there and completely do new stuff and it might not work and like whatever. But I was like, no, for the sake of like also for that comic, that female comic, right? And also just to be like, I'm petty. I'd be like, no, fuck you. Women are funny. And like, so then I like scrapped my whole set and like did, you know, all the old good shit. And it went really well, right? And then I was like, okay, like, you know, I feel like, yes, I've won one battle, you know, like as a thing, but it doesn't happen often. But when it happens, you're like, oh, okay, this is fine. But I think that's why I also love self-producing, because I just get to like do it myself. And I have a lot of, when I get openers, I have a lot of, I mainly choose female comics, or queer comics. Yeah. And like, if I do have a man, like, cause there's sometimes no other option. There's sometimes I'm in cities where like, you know, the only option is a male comic, straight guy who's like, you know, moved there from Britain or something. And he's like the only English guy that does comedy in the town. So you get them. Yeah. And then like they come on and they're like, oh my God, your audiences are like all hot women. And I was like, yeah, like, yeah, that's my audience, right? Like, because women also enjoy female comics, right? It's relatability, you know? So yeah.
But I don't think that another man can ever understand us when it goes to love, dating, or just in general.
Or having
like
periods, endometriosis, going through pregnancy, like all the stuff that women do. And that's men, like women can sit through a male comic talking about jerking off, of porn or whatever, and because naturally as women we empathize, right? We're like, oh yeah, I'll laugh at that, that's funny, blah blah blah. But you can't get on stage and be like, oh my, like I did a show in India a couple of years ago, and it was because it was Delhi, like late at night, it was like 8 or 9 o'clock show, and a lot of women don't go out after a certain time because it's not the safest of cities. And I went out and did the show, and it was like 60 Indian men in the audience. And at that point, that show, I had like 15 minutes on periods and like having children and like all this stuff. Like, and it was so fucking silent. I was like, all right, guys, strap yourself in. We're going to learn something about periods. And it was quite fun, right? But for the most part, like they were just like, okay, what's happening right now?
Why am I here?
Yeah, exactly. Right. What is a tampon?
My. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
But do you have any thoughts on why that's still the case, that we don't have that many women joining the field?
I still think there's elements of like, I guess it's related to the patriarchy, or just like a kind of old mentality that women should just shut up, right? Like just keep quiet. And I think now we're moving into the age where women are happy to speak up, and you have a lot of these, not shut up, and like having a lot of these really amazing feminist women. Like I just did the show with my gorgeous friend Amelia. She came from Australia to do the show with me here, and I love her because she's so outspoken and she's such a feminist, and she won't let anything slide. Like if she hears something that someone says, or like recently as well, I had this guy message me quite a horrible thing on Instagram. And this is how bad it is. I've been so desensitized to these kind of messages over the years, because like, it was like basically something like, I would love to like put my hands around your throat and like strangle you till you pass out and fuck you. Like just really gross stuff, right? And I sent it to Amelia because we're best friends, and I was like, look at this motherfucking guy is thinking he can like, and she was like, all right. So she found him, got on his LinkedIn, found his bosses, sent an email to every person he works with at the company, like an anonymous email, which she's like, she's 53. She's like, I just found out you can send anonymous emails on Gmail. And I was like, great. I love this for you, Amelia. Yeah, we love Amelia Jane Hunter. And so, he ended up getting fired. And he was like, and then he messaged me after that. He's like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have sent that message. You know, I've lost my job now and blah, blah, blah. And and so that's like, you know, that's the kind of woman she is, where she's like, no, like we need to call out people on this. But I think it's just, you know, this old school mentality of like not wanting a woman to like, you know, and again, it's a patriarchy, just keep women subjugated and keep them quiet and keep them at home having babies and like doing all of that sort of stuff. And that's why also like, you know, female comics aren't highly sexualized either, you know, like it's not something, because men, and all my research of like where the whole women aren't funny comes from is because men, when they're seen as attractive to the opposite sex, to a woman, it's humor that is the number one thing, right? So it's like humor is the one thing that even if they're, you know, they're short and they think that's a bad thing, or, you know, whatever insecurities they have, if I'm funny, she'll like me. So if there's a woman who like, you know, is there like me, if I'm a funny person, I go on a date and it attacks that, then they don't like it, right? So they always want to be the one that's funny and like this. And like there's even, they did I think they did what was it, like a funded, in like a college in America, they funded this thing about like to find out whether women aren't funny. Like this guy was like, no, I'm going to go and do a whole like hypothesis and like to prove that women aren't funny.
To prove that
they're not funny. No, to prove that they're not funny. Like a college funded thing. And like they went there and like they, you know, and anyway, it came to be that women aren't funny because it was written down jokes, and then an independent panel would like read them and then like whatever. And then this guy, whoever did it, like was like, did the study, was like, oh yeah, like, see, women aren't funny. And then like they use that now. They're like, no,
great.
It's, yeah,
wow.
right.
Congrats. Are you proud?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's like, these kind of people are just, you know, they don't like, but then I wouldn't want to be around those kind of men, you know. And and I think it's amazing to have a funny partner and a funny woman, right? Because there's so much funny stuff that happens with just the nature of being a woman, right? So
it just blows my mind, because not only we should be playing and doing everything together for each other as community, as society, not against each other to begin with, but also we even didn't have the time to practice as much as men have the opportunity, right? We are just getting into comedy, into podcasting, into things, into expressing ourselves, into actually having opinion, into actually saying, no, you can't touch me. No, you can't say this to me. So I think personally that if we had the same time, we would be way ahead men in any field, because we are so much more like doers, getting things done, proactive, creative. But we're just getting started. If we were at the same starting stage as men, they would stood no chance. In cooking, in creativity, in arts, in whatever comedy, it just it blows my mind that there's no appreciation for how short actually the freedom has been for us to be able to sit now and wear open décolletés and talk as we like and sparkle and use curse words on YouTube.
yeah.
Like seriously.
No, exactly. And like openly talking about sex as well.
Yeah.
Like that's something that some men despise, right? Like they like, oh, you know, and that's the other tribe is like, you know, oh, like women only talk about sex or like whatever. But it's like the amount of like comedy shows where I've seen men talk about
Honest
porn
sex.
and jerking off and
Yeah.
wanting to be pegged and like just like the weird.
Hitting on women and flirting with them and how to get them in bed. It's often all around that.
It's just but I mean I love being a woman, and I think, you know, there's so many men that need to, I mean a lot of men do appreciate it, but I think there's like something that they can really and like because a lot of it comes from fear from them, right? I'm fearful of a strong woman. Why, right? Like because, and this is why like it took me a long time to date and to find someone you know, that also matches that and respects that. And they're the men you want, right? They're the men that, because women by nature are strong, right? You know, to have a child, to give birth, like to go through all the stuff that we do with our bodies, let alone then be out in the world, right? And I think fucking amazing. Strong women are the best.
I agree. And I love it. And I love that you have a partner who can support such an impressive, strong woman. Because when I met my partner, like especially after being single for 3.5 years, you know, you just become so independent and you're fucking unstoppable. Like you move countries, you go you take care of yourself sustainably.
You literally do not need
exactly. You choose to have them in your life. So I was on the peak of my career of independence, right? And so he comes into my life and I'm still running the same way I was running before, doing things on my own and wanting things. And no, I don't want this. I'm going to do it this way, you know, just be as I am. And at some stage I did notice that I'm a bit over the top, you know, that I'm maybe a little bit too independent. And I asked him, you're okay with that? Like you're not bothered by me? You don't feel like I'm overtaking you or overtaking your masculine energy? He was like, no, like it makes me even more to be even more present, better, masculine, you know, and I appreciate that you know what you want in life and I can stand behind you and support the independent and strong woman as you are. And I'm like, yes, we found it.
Yeah.
Because usually, as you mentioned, men are terrified of you handling your own shit and you not being useless.
Or God forbid that you're more successful than them.
Oh, God forbid indeed.
Like
making more money.
Yeah, making more money, being more successful, more like, you know, if you have a presence online, if that's like, it's, and when you find a man that's like open for that, it's so refreshing. And of course, there's always going to be like, I mean, my partner's very strong-headed and strong-willed, and so am I. Like, we're both Scorpios, so like it just like, but we have great communication, and that's where it also comes from. And he loves strong women, right? Like, and that's the other thing. Like, every man is raised by a mum. Like most men that have a mother, right? And so it's like I don't understand where this kind of clink in the chain goes, where they can go in another, you know, direction where they end up like despising women or, you know, just wanting to cause harm or whatever, mentally, physically, like to, because I'm sure like I don't know your dating history, but like I know for mine, like most women have had an experience with men that hasn't been pleasant, right? And I don't really think it's the opposite way.
Especially with French guys.
Oh, okay, yeah. Ahem. I actually had a good experience with a French guy, but like,
too, but also a bit of a typical French. I loved that story because I was like, oh my God, I lived there for 6 months. And that was my life.
And I think that's it. Like, and I think also like I have so many gorgeous friends, like my friend Amelia. I have another few friends that are, you know, in their late 40s, early 50s, and they're just so independent. And that's the thing, that you can get to a point, which was where I was pretty much at before I met my partner, where I was like, I don't need a man. Like I'm so independent. I'm so happy. I have a beautiful family, beautiful friends. And I'd been in a bad toxic relationship where that was sort of taken away from me from a partner. And then now like finding someone who's like a support, and it makes, when you find someone like that, like your partner, like it makes you better together, right? You're a team, and then you start being better together, which is like such a beautiful thing, because I just never thought that was ever possible. But when you find the right person who's not afraid of a strong woman, it's like, oh damn, okay, this can be good.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love it so much.
Yeah, I know, me too. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is
But before we go into that, I want to wrap up that field or that topic with one last question.
Yeah.
If we have now women listening to this, which I guess we have plenty of also from your audience, that maybe are craving career similar to yours or a path similar to yours, but they are afraid of taking that step. Do you have any advice?
I think you've got to try, right? Like in life, and take a risk. And I mean, I've always had many fork in the road options in my life, and I mean, I've kind of also left a lot to destiny. But I think the worst thing, and this is also from people in my life who have passed away recently, and you never know when life's going to be taken away from you, and you never want to look back and be like, oh, I wish I had have done that, or I wish I. And I say this to a lot of female patrons that come to my show who may be wanting to try stand up, or even just as a confidence thing. It's not even it doesn't have to be a career, but it can be something that will just give you like confidence. To write a set, to get on stage in front of people is scary for most people. And, you know, you have to try. And then maybe you'll catch the bug, and then you'll be like, oh my God, I actually love this, right? And then go with it. But I'm that kind of person where I never want to look back on life and regret that, oh, I should have done that. Like, I'm nearly 40, I'm 37, 38 this year. And there's still so much that I want to do. And I still feel so young and youthful. And I was like, okay, like what's next? Like, what's the next thing? Because life is sadly short, especially when you get to your mid-30s and stuff, and you start, things happen in your family and friends start passing away or whatever. And you just put stuff into perspective, and it's like, no, you have to, don't live with regrets. No regrets. I don't do that. No, I don't have I'm just thinking about like the no ragrats when people get that done, a terrible thing. But yeah, I mean, it's cliche, but you just
But it's true.
Yeah, it's true. And I think those cliche things you just have to keep reinforcing to friends and to people who come to the shows. Like, yeah, you just got to try it, because you never know what's going to come from it. And also like all the incredible friendships and relationships I've got from this industry and from my job, like, is just, it's been amazing, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah. So go for it.
On the topic of regrets,
yes,
any you can think of in the recent years?
Men. There's men I definitely regret. But actually, no.
But they always teach us something at the end of the day. As painful and shitty and ugly it might have been, there's always a learning.
Yeah, and that's very true. I don't actually regret really anything in my life. I feel like everything has gotten me to where I am. I think regrets come more from a personal perspective. Like, I've had two close family members pass away in the last 3 years, and I wasn't there at the end. And that's the biggest regret I have. And that's what has changed my life now, and what I value, and what I'm trying to work towards is more like balance, to be able to spend more time with family, because I don't want those times to happen again, where it's like I'm stuck in the middle of like Bulgaria, or I'm stuck in India and I can't get back to Australia and to say goodbye, right? And they're the regrets that I have. I think everything else in life it's a journey, right? Like you said, like, and dating people, I see them as teachers. They teach you something, and even if it's toxic or whatever, like and I think it's also poisonous to leave that inside you, like a hate or if you despise someone for something, like you have to sort of also take ownership and I don't know, accept it. Acceptance is the biggest thing, right? Like accept that happened. Yes, it wasn't great, and I've gone through therapy and I've done all the things to fix myself. But yeah, you just have to keep going forward and not try to look back. But yeah, no regrets. Just the family stuff. Yeah, no regrets.
Did you have to go on stage even though you were maybe grieving or going through some hard times?
Yeah. Show must go on, right? Like this is so my grandma passed away, and it was quite a horrible, like my nonna, like I grew up like very Italian in Australia, and my nonna raised me, and she was an amazing woman, and she had severe dementia before she passed away, and basically she was in a nursing home, and the nursing home, they were washing her and cleaning her, and they put her up on a bed. They walked out of the room. She fell, broke her hip, and they put her back on the bed and didn't tell anyone. And so she had a broken femur for 2 weeks before anyone realized. And so the nursing home was like, and so in the end, we had to make a decision as a family of what to do, right? Do you go ahead with the hip replacement surgery, or do you put them on end of life and just let them pass away peacefully, which is a horrible decision to make about someone you love, because you're there talking with family and being like, but she's pro-life, but then what's her life going to be like? It's awful to have that in your hands. And then I was trying to get home, but I had a massive tour kind of booked, and we decided to put her on end of life. And then I thought she would wait until I thought she would last longer than she did. And yeah, she passed away. And that I woke up in the morning to like missed calls, and I was like, okay, it's happened. And I had to take a 2-hour flight from Bangalore to Delhi. And then I had 3 shows that night. So I had 2 solo shows and then a spot. And yeah, it was awful, right? And then you just I don't know, you're dead behind the eyes. Like you're not there. And lucky that I've been doing this job for so long, where you can sort of just recite, like you're just reciting a monologue at that point. You're like, oh, you're like this. And yeah, it was like, that was like tough. And then I had a few more shows and travels to do, and I'm grieving, and I'm, and also when you get on airplanes, you're already so emotional, like when you're up in the air and like, writing the eulogy and doing all this sort of stuff. So yeah, that was a really tough time, but show's got to go on. You got to do it. But then last year my aunt passed away, and I was like, no, fuck that. The show doesn't have to go on. And I canceled my first like US tour. Like I finally got my US work visa, and I had shows in New York and DC and all these shows lined up, and I had to cancel them all and just drop everything, fly back to Australia. And but that's also the benefit of being self-produced, is that I can do that, right? I can call the venue and be like, hey, my family's passed away, I've got to go. But yeah, it's not fun. And I've done it as well. Like I've done it when I've had horrible fights, or I've gone through horrible breakups and had to walk back out on stage, or, been doing a show with someone who I was dating, and you find out horrible things, like, and then you just still got to go on stage and do shows. So, yeah, it's part of the job, I guess.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not funny, but it's a reality of the business, right?
It's not about being funny. It's about being real and what's happening actually behind the stage.
Yeah.
So, when you went on the shows, did you share anything about what you're going through, or you just kept on?
Yeah, just kept on. I mean, I've come from a family that's very much like, just like my mom is very much like that. Just be funny. Like I used to talk about when I did cabaret. Cabaret can be a little bit more like, you can be funny, and then there's always a part of the show where you talk to the audience and you talk about like whatever. And in my 20s, it was like mental health or like something. And not saying that's not important, but like it comes at this very like poignant part of the show, and the lights go down, and you're like, And then it's like, it's very dramatic. And my mum always said to me, she's like, don't focus on the negative, you know, like always be funny. Like people just want to laugh. They want to have a good time. And I think that's kind of the reason why I do this job, because my nonna, my grandma who raised me, they came to Australia as refugees, and they had like just a like really hard life. And when I think as a kid I felt that sadness, and because I was with her all the time, I think I always, you know, they say that a lot of people say that comics are the sad ones, right? The sad clowns.
Literally took my next question.
Yeah.
Because it's usual that comics, you know, funny actors, people who are in the entertaining business usually carry lots of traumas or sadness. And I actually wanted to ask you whether that applies to you too.
I think it's sort of true, but sort of not. Like Jimmy Carr said this on an interview or a podcast once, and it really stuck with me, because I never thought I was a sad person. Like I never felt like I had like this heaviness or this trauma, but I was surrounded by it as a kid. And his mum had very bad mental issues and mental health issues, and I don't know exactly what it was, but when you're a kid and you're around a lot of sad people, you automatically go into this, I want them to be happy. And it's not conscious, right? It's not like, oh, I'm putting on a show, like it's subconscious. And I think I felt that with my nonna, and with all the sad stuff that happened in my early childhood, a lot of people dying. My grandfather had like terminal cancer, and then my other grandfather fell off a haystack and became a quadriplegic and was like in a wheelchair. And so there's a lot of like really heavy shit as a kid. And I just wanted people to be happy and to laugh and to have a good time. And I think that's where when my grandma passed away, I kind of had this like moment of like, why am I doing this job now? Like she was the reason why I started doing this. Like she always, you know, instilled in me this like performance and, you know, watching a lot of musicals together and singing and like, and all this. And it took me a long time. I got really resentful towards comedy, I think, after that. And I just didn't want to do it. Like I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be on stage. I don't want to fucking entertain people. But it's your job, right? And that's how you make money. So I was like, I kind of felt in this stuck time.
Did you consider at this stage eventually quitting?
Yeah, 100%. My whole last show, Okay, was about wanting to quit comedy and give up, and just not like, I was like, I just had this thing of like, I just don't want to do it. Because I felt like the light that she always had given me was gone. And I think also, yeah, I don't know, I just didn't feel it. And also again, that going through that, not being able to grieve and just being able to like, just to still stick it out. And I think I was holding on to a lot of that resentment of like, oh, I have to do these shows. My grandma's passed away and I have to do these shows and I fucking hate this. I don't want to be here because I want to be with my family. I want to be grieving. I want to do that. So there was a lot of like resentment that I felt towards just comedy in general, and I just didn't want to do it. And I don't think I really I didn't give myself much time off, I think. But I think then I found my partner, and I think I sort of mellowed a little bit more after that, I think. But yeah, it's like not the easiest thing to go through.
Honestly, Elena, thank you, because that's the type of things that I actually genuinely wanted to talk about, how it is behind the scenes when you don't have to be funny, when that's not what's going on. It's not all laughter and fun. And especially, as you mentioned, sometimes shit is happening in the background and you still need to go on with a smile full on. And, you know, these people have paid for entertainment and all you know is inside that you're heartbroken.
Yeah, and you can't just go out there and start crying and be like, you know, and I know there's been some comics that like I've seen in the past that have done that, like just had mental breakdowns on stage, but they were also, you know, booked by a big festival or something like that. And I know of one comic, I know that he was going through a divorce and still had to go out there and do an hour show. And he was not funny and people were like, fuck this. Like, and then that changes your perception of that comic because you're like, oh, like what the fuck was that? Like, what were they going through? But there's a lot that happens, like, I think with comedy and backstage, and a lot of my friends who are comics, like, are always going through stuff because, again, like this kind of chaos in comedy or chaos in your life does create a lot of comedy. And a lot of people have said to me, like, oh, since getting into a relationship, how are you going to be funny? Like, how are you going to be funny? Like, and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. thanks. Like, you don't think I'm capable of anything else, but sure, okay, fine, right.
Just dating and have dick jokes.
Yeah, or like whatever. But like my last show was all about family. Like OK Show was about, how much I loved my grandma and grieving with my parents. And I think that was also very healing too. And I hate to say that, like comedy was also cathartic, but it is, right? We process stuff. Everyone processes stuff in different ways, whether it's reading or meditation or therapy or whatever. And I think a lot of comedians and artists do it through their art. The painters do, singer-songwriters do. And so I think that also helped kind of as well in that getting through the grief of it all.
Where are you now? How are you feeling now?
I'm good. I had it was 1 year anniversary of last Monday of my my aunt passing. And that was also... it was quite difficult because I felt like, again, there's no time to grieve, like with this job. And she sort of passed away, and like I dropped everything, went straight back to Australia and packed up a house. But it was just like go. And then it was back onto the road and back touring. So I think it hit me quite hard last week because I was like, oh yeah, she's actually gone, right? And when you're away from home and someone in your family passes away, there's a sense of like, you can, I don't know, compartmentalize it because you're not there every day. You're not living in the reality of it. So you're like, oh, it didn't happen. Like there's always that part of your brain that's like, oh no, they're still there. They're still there. Right. And when I go home, it always hits me even more. Like that's when it's like a bit more difficult. But yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Like I find times to remember them. Like this year when on my grandma's death anniversary, like I'm going to be close to her hometown in Croatia. So I think I'll take my boyfriend there and like show him there, and just little things that you can do to like remember them and that kind of stuff and grieve. But no one teaches you how to grieve, right? So you just have to like push through it, like just wading through shit. You're like, I just got to get out like of this. Like,
well, but also leave some space for it to happen, because we can store lots of grief unprocessed and we can just leave it somewhere in the body and realize that we're not okay, we haven't healed, and even if it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So I know it's the job, but at the same time, you're responsible for your own health and being. And I think it's very important to sit with the discomfort of sadness, grief, and all the other emotions that might be still somewhere there. And especially being in Bali, I know that you have another 10 days.
I do. That's what we're going to Lombok tomorrow, and I think like that's I need those kind of holidays, I would say, of where I just completely switch off. Like we just did Japan for 3 weeks, and like it's just like we're walking like 20,000 steps every day. You're going to see this temple, and you're going here, and you're going there. And I just felt stressed because I'd just done that for 2 months before, right, on a European tour. And so like these times are when you like, and my boyfriend is like, he's never had a holiday like that because he grew up in India where, like you go to university, then you get a job, and there's no time for this, right? There's no time for a sabbatical. Like what is that?
To marry and have children somewhere.
Have children, provide for your family, provide for your parents, like you take care of everyone in this kind of way. And I think, I'm teaching him that balance, right? Which is so ironic that like a white girl is teaching an Indian man how to relax and meditate, right? And to be just with yourself. And like we even went for a massage yesterday, and he was like, wow, I've got no pain. And I was like, yeah, babe, that's because like we have no stress. We're not stressing about something mentally, physically, whatever. And he's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, this is what holidays are for, right? So I'm looking forward to just writing. I really want to start a book, which is so weird to say, but
exciting.
I feel like I have so much like of my stories from the road and like being a female comic and traveling solo and doing all this sort of stuff. Like, and it's something I've been really wanting to do for a while. And I haven't really, it's always procrastination is the enemy of me in particular. And to be able to sort of sit back and be like, no, I want to just start putting some stuff down and writing some stuff, and like in a funny way that hopefully will be somewhat relatable. So yeah,
I can imagine that you as a solo woman traveling the world, you've been through a situation or two, and then probably before stage, after stage, men thinking that they can just allow themselves doing things and making comments. So I'm sure you're gonna bring some stories that we're not ready for.
And just like, I mean, it's I feel like my life is kind of like, I don't know, it's just my life and I live it and this is how my life is. But I know that other people, they'd be like, what? Like, But I think that's the nature of like being like a female comic, or not even a female comic. Like there's a lot of comics that stay in the same city and do that, and like we'll do TV and we do all that. Like, but these like adventurous solo female travelers, right? But then I'm putting work on top of that and meeting people at these shows and having these weird adventures. And like I was saying that to Amelia today, like I was like, I love being a comic because I feel like we're like the fly on the wall in so many situations in life. Like we get invited to do corporate stuff. We get invited to private parties. We're like in that middle part of like, you know, I have friends who are like super famous and are like, you know, in LA or like whatever, and they have these stories and we're kind of just there, right? And I think people just like let us in because they're like, oh yeah, like whatever, they're famous. But we're like still there being like, what the fuck is this? We're going to write about this on stage. Like we're going to talk about this, you know? And I just think it's crazy because I think a lot of people don't understand like the lifestyle. Or even if I go home, and I went to a wedding a couple of years ago in Sydney, and it was a Sydney wedding with like lawyers and people who have traveled, like not, you know, bush people, right, whatever, or bogans or whatever. And they're like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I live in Berlin. I'm a comedian. And I travel around and do shows. And like their face just like their eyes glazed over, and they were like, okay, I'm gonna get a drink. And I'm like, oh, okay, like just no follow-up question. Like if someone said that to me, I'd be like a million follow-up questions.
Seriously.
Like you're inquisitive, right? It's like there's follow-up questions.
Wait, what? You?
Yeah, what? Comedian? Berlin? Like what? That's so cool. And I think a lot of people are just like, especially in Australia and like these places, they're like, I don't know how to process that information.
I'm just gonna leave.
So I'm just gonna get drunk, right? Like that's the kind of thing. So yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, fun.
Well, keep us posted on that.
Yeah, well, could be a while.
You need to start writing it first, right?
I do. It's in my head, right? But I will. Yeah, I'm gonna start writing it.
You can also start in a way easier way. Just start doing voice notes.
I know.
And we
I
have
actually
AI
need to
nowadays.
do this. Yes.
They just transcribes it,
I know.
and you can allocate it in the different stories and countries and cities.
That's actually a good idea because I feel like I'm more of a spoken kind of person, so I probably need to do that. But
it's probably gonna even like your head is gonna tell you, oh, this is so much work to sit down and write it down. So
because that's the whole thing of like, you know, sitting there at a laptop and being like, I have to write now.
or like, so I was here and there and la la la. So just start voice noting it, saving it in a folder.
All right.
Okay, so when
I'll put a thank you in the notes.
Yeah,
I'll put a thank you, Louisa. I'll be like,
Louisa.
thank you for the tips and the getting the push to get started.
Well, but that's how I do, for example, when I do solo podcasts and I need to script because I need to know, you know, how the process goes, obviously. I would literally sit down, voice note it, and then transcribe it and give it to AI and say, okay, so remove all the fluff and all the unnecessary stories and that I said, and now let's script it into something proper. By the way, how has AI influenced your life and career? Do you use any AI? That it just popped into my mind?
I don't use it for comedy. I use it for I know my PA uses it a lot for like, you know, emailing out to venues, or I use it a lot for contracts because I get a lot of contracts in like different languages. So I'll just be like, you know, I'll put it into ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, what are the red flags here? Yeah. And then it'll be like, okay, here's the thing. So that's really helpful. I also use it for date checking. So like normally when I create my tour schedule, I just go like, okay, I know at Christmas, Easter, like I know these kind of things. But sometimes now I do like AI date checks. I'm like, hey, I'm going to this city on these dates. What's in the city at the time? Because sometimes there's like, I went to Barcelona and there was that massive music festival on, and like the accommodation was like 4 times the price, which Barcelona is already expensive, but like 4 times the price. And so just using that to like help with the tour scheduling and stuff like that as well. But mostly it's like, no, hey, where can I get almond milk? Or like today I was like, for my boyfriend, I was like, where can I get The Economist in Bali? Like, you know, like
she was literally doing the navigation to buy The Economist, and my boyfriend was like, I don't even know if you can buy this in Bali.
Yeah, you can, but I think they're a little few days behind, right? Like, so, and because
I don't even know that anybody reads magazines here in this.
He's very blessed, and he loves his cup of chai and reading the newspaper or this kind of stuff. Like he's old school in that way, which which is very cute. And but yes, you can get it. But it's just a little, probably like a week behind schedule.
I mean, war happened, but you're gonna know about it eventually.
It's fine. It's fine. Exactly. So no, I think ChatGPT and like AI, like it's not helpful for comedy at all. Like,
well, I think for creative processes in general.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some people really use it for, I mean, maybe script writing or like whatever, formatting. But I think for comedy, like it's just like, even I think when it first started, I started trying it and I was like, oh, give me a premise or write a joke or like what this. And it just is just shit. Flat. Yeah, it's so shit. And I'm like, all right, AI is not taking my job anytime soon.
That's
right?
for sure. Yeah, that's for you can rely on that.
Yeah.
Can we talk a bit about love?
We can talk about love and relationships and sex and everything. We can talk about
I want to talk about India as well.
Yeah.
Can we maybe start from there? Like,
yeah. Let's go.
Why do you want to go so much to India, and why have you been on so many tours there?
Good question. So I went there in 2018 for the first time to India, and I did shows there with this other show that I was doing at the time with another comic, and I did Mumbai, Goa, Hyderabad, and Pune.
Not that I know.
Yeah.
Are, but
maybe the people who are listening know. And I just had the worst time. I was like, I hate India. I hate it. I never want to come back here. I said it on another podcast. Like, I was like, I hate it. And I think the thing I hated about it the most was that I felt like diminished as a woman at that time. I felt like, I was with my partner as a comic, and every time we went out to restaurants, they would give one menu to him. They would compliment him. I remember one time they gave him the menu, no menu to me. And they're like, you have a nice smile, sir. And I was like, like, what about me? And I just found it, and you go through it was just such a change. You go through different security lines at the airport. There's men and women. And I just felt, and you get stared at a lot by men in India. And I just hated it. I was like, and the shows weren't good. When I went on stage, and it's different now, right? This was like 8 years ago. And I would get on stage and the men would just start talking when I started talking on stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Especially the Pune show. It was like an outdoor venue. And I just remember I got up on stage and they all just turned to their, and started smoking and talking. And I was like, I was like raging inside. And I just had a horrible time. And I was like, I never want to go back. And then during COVID, when like all my YouTube videos started going like really viral, I had a lot of Indians message me and like, please come to India. And I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, maybe we'll see. And then started 2023, I was going back to Europe and I thought maybe I'll just stop by. And I had another friend that had just been there and they had a terrible time with shows and like terrible, and I was like, okay, I've got to find a good venue. I've got to find this. And so ended up connecting to someone who connected me to someone and got these like good venues in Delhi and Mumbai. And I went to Delhi and I did the show there and I was like, oh, this was so much fun. They were the best. Like, because for me, it's also about the audiences, right? If the audiences are thirsty and they're fun and they're just loving it, it's like, it's addictive. That's the addictive part, right? And so Delhi was great. I went to Mumbai, same thing, 2 sold out shows in Mumbai. And I was like, oh, this is fucking dope. And I met the comic that opened for me at that time, Gia, who's now like one of my best friends, who lives in Mumbai, grown up in Mumbai. And I just had such a good time. And at that time I was on Bumble and I met this guy and I was like, so I came back a couple of months later and I was like, I'll come back and do shows. And, I had a good time doing shows. And I don't know, I kept coming back and sort of dating this guy in Mumbai and I was like coming back and forth. And yeah, I don't know, like it was mainly the scene that like attracted me, like, because it was such a fresh energy. Shows in the UK or shows in Australia are like, we've had comedy for like 20 years, 25 years, 30 years plus, right? So the audiences are like, impress me, whatever. And I think in India, post-COVID, which is a lot of other countries as well, like post-COVID, a lot of in like Eastern Europe or like whatever, comedy has become this new thing, especially in English or in their own language. Like I've been doing shows in Estonia and Lithuania and like these kind of places where their own like comedy in their own language is just going crazy, even Germany, right? And so I don't know, it was just such this fun environment. And I was like, and it was like such a vibe. And Mumbai is this like, the city is like 25 million people, which is like all of Australia, right? In one tiny part of India. And it's the city is so cosmopolitan. And then and obviously being a white person in India and being in these like comedy circles, you get to see, again, like you get to see these kind of like meet these Bollywood people and see the glimpses of these lives that you're like, what? Like super wealthy people and how they live. And then, I don't know, it's just such a fascinating country, and particularly Mumbai is just such a crazy city. And I don't know, I fell in love with it. And when we were thinking about where to move to, my boyfriend's sister lives in Mumbai, and I have friends there. I know I get on all the shows there. Like I have good connections with all the comedy clubs. So I was like, this just makes sense for a little bit.
Mumbai just makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, Mumbai just makes sense.
For now, like I don't know how I would go living there because like, yeah, I grew up on a farm, right? I grew up in silence and pitch black, right? And that's how I don't know how I'll go living in a massive city like that, but time will tell.
I want to see how this goes for you too. I'm super curious.
Well, I think I'm starting a podcast with my friend in Mumbai, so I should be probably a weekly.
Keep us posted,
and I'll be
please.
like, oh my God, what is this? But no, it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Well, so you meet an Indian man.
Yes.
Back in Berlin
Yeah.
a few years ago, or
2.5 years ago now. Yeah.
How is this culturally? Because I'm Bulgarian.
Yeah.
And I have a Kiwi boyfriend.
Yeah.
This is already two different worlds.
Yeah.
But I have Australian with a freaking Indian.
Yeah.
This is another league as well.
Yeah.
So how has that been?
I think we're so different that it works. Do you know what I mean? Like I think like opposites attract, but we're like opposite. But also as well, I think, you know, when you date someone from a different culture, and you have to have a very, like, you have to be patient. You have to be, and I'm not a very patient person, but you have to be patient. You have to be accepting. And you have to be willing to like learn about their culture and to be like curious about how they grew up. Because I mean, I'm not sure, how old were you when you met your partner? Like
3 years and a half
yeah,
ago.
okay. So you're in like, how old are you? Like 30,
I
20, like 20s?
What,
20 something, I don't know.
I just turned 30.
Okay, 30. Okay, right. So like,
It was still 20.
yeah, 20. So you've had like, you know, 29 years of your life, or like however, like what, 27 years of your life beforehand when you meet your partner, right? That you sort of have to explain like, okay, like this, and it's also, you don't have any of that connection that a couple has. Like my brother married a girl that I went to high school with, and I set them up, right? So everything that we know, we all grew up in the same area, we went to the same schools, like and like watch the same TV shows. So you have some kind of reference point that you can make a joke about something and they get it, or they just understand you. I mean, I met my boyfriend when I was like 36 and he was 37, 38. And, you know, like, it's like, even now, like, I'll be like, oh, do you know this song? Like, lick my neck, my back, lick my pussy and my crack. And he's like, what? Or like, you just, or I'll be like, oh, that funny thing that in Australia. And then I'm like, oh yeah. Like
You have no idea.
and he's like, oh, this Bollywood movie. And I was like, I don't know. And he would talk about a Bollywood star. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is. Like, can we talk about Brad Pitt? But you just have to be willing to learn and be patient and to be really curious about their culture. And I just think that's so enriching as well. But I think also and maybe also your partner, like Kiwi, as Australians, right? Like we don't really have a culture, you know, I mean, obviously Indigenous people do, but like new Australians, like we kind of don't have an identity. Like, who are we? What do we have? Vegemite, Tim Tams, like all this sort of stuff. And like, I talk about this in the show, like my new show, about like this kind of, you know, I get jealous of my boyfriend because he's got thousands of years of like Hindu God stories and Indian stories and like wars and theirs, and you're like, I've got nothing, you know? And I'm sure the same thing with you.
He's
like,
so excited when we go to Europe. Every time when we go and see like old stuff in the ruins.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in Empires, or like a game, like Age of Empires or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I used to play that on my computer.
I
Now
saw this
see
in a
it live.
documentary.
Yeah, exactly. I see it now live, and here are the Trojans and these guys and Byzantine and blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
yeah.
You know, I'm not as impressed, but I hear you.
But I think it's not so much about the person, because my partner's been outside of India for like 15 years. So he's become a little bit more like kind of, I don't want to say like westernized, but he lived in the US, he lived in Germany. And that's not, having said that, like I know a lot of Indian people who have moved out and they still stay the same way and same culture. Like, you know, this is also the same with my Italian family that came out from Italy to Australia. They keep the same thing. They keep the same traditions. They some of them didn't even learn English when they came out. And so I think the hardest thing I find is like just family. Like that was the biggest thing that I always kind of get a little bit worried about, right? Because
So he brings this white blonde woman.
or me bringing back an Indian guy, like which
That
I
as
mean
well.
in Australia, like we're so multicultural and there's a lot of Indians. Like my mum works with a bunch of
And
Indians.
to be
and
honest,
stuff.
I expected your mom at this stage with your lifestyle. She would expect that you're not gonna bring the neighbor from the next door.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that it was way easier to
Exactly.
incorporate him into your life versus
Yeah.
here I am, all sparkling. I talk about dicks all day.
Yeah.
That's me.
But then I'm like also like I get a bit worried about that sometimes because I'm like, his parents are very like not super religious, but they like, they go to the temples and they do all this sort of stuff and the propaganda that I don't know, propaganda like what, but like white women aren't represented very well in Indian media, especially in like the 90s and 2000s. Like in films, yeah, dirty whores, right? Like white, like you might go and fuck a white girl, but like you'll always come back to an Indian and you'll stay in the family, and like Western women don't have any values. And like even some things that he's said to me about like just even little things that he wouldn't even like just says off the cuff, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, like that's what has been said to you, when like I'm pretty sure that stuff happens in India, but like no one would talk about it, right? So yeah, it's more, yeah, I was a bit worried about that, but then I'm also like, no, he chose me for a reason, and then he needs to, that's his problem with his family. Same if my family didn't accept him, it would be up to me to tell them that like either fuck off or like you better like, I don't know why, like just accept that I'm happy, right? And yeah, I think that's the kind of difficult thing. I think his parents struggle a little bit with me because they don't know maybe how to converse or talk. And I mean, his mum's not the best with English. She knows how to speak it, but is very nervous about it, speaking it to me. So, and I speak fast, this kind of stuff. So I think, yeah, it's just, but again, like then I have to meet halfway and I have to do these things and kind of, but I think also as a comedian, like you're pretty intuitive, like kind of what you need to do to connect with someone. That's part of the job, is connecting with people and connecting with audience members from all around the world and like whatever. And having done a lot of shows in India, I kind of understand, or I'm trying to understand like the culture and the kind of the roles that people have in the family and like this kind of stuff. And but I'm a Westerner, so I get away with a lot more as well, right? So
if we were to expect a wedding,
yeah,
I'm not saying anything.
yeah.
But if we were, is it gonna be all sparkle Bollywood style?
Oh my God. I went to my first ever Indian wedding last year, and holy shit, like I thought I was over the top. And then I go there and like I was like, so they put me in like a lenga, which is like the first night where it's like the kind of boob tubey thing with like the long skirt. Yeah, the crop with the long skirt.
Yeah. They can get very fancy these days.
Oh yeah. Oh, like thousands of dollars. Like yeah. Wow. Like that, because it depends. Like, some of them can be like beaded with gold, like, and all this sort of stuff. Like yeah, it can like diamond, like whatever. It can get really expensive. So you had that, and then like, they're putting all the jewelry on me, and I'm like, I think it's a bit much, and they're like, no more, and I'm like, okay. So like earrings, like 3 necklaces, like 10 bracelets on each arm, like rings, like this, and I'm like, I think it's a bit much, right? And I was like, sort of funny because I think it's like Coco Chanel said, like, always take one thing off before you leave the house, otherwise, and I'm like, not in India. It's like put 5 more things on before you leave the house. So yeah, it was wild. I was like, damn, this is amazing. But I don't know. I don't think like I could ever have an Indian wedding. It would be too much.
Cannot.
It's too much. It's too much.
Did
I mean,
you know that?
if we do get married, it would have to happen, right? Like, but I want
to see that. This needs to be a documentary.
It was exhausting. I was like, holy shit! Like, I was so tired. Like, I'm like, I don't know,
getting ready or what?
Because it's like a week-long kind of thing, right? Like, so you have the mehendi ceremony, which is like the henna ceremony, and that goes all day. A lot of eating, like just eating and this. And then you've got like the main kind of ceremony, the Sangeet, which is where like they all get up and dance, and like, the bride and the groom do dances for one another. It's a big party. We got to bed at like, I think 2 a.m. or something, and I was up at 6 to get my makeup done and hair because we had to be at like...
As if you're getting married.
Yeah. No. I felt like... But because we were quite close to the family, so it was like... And also it was kind of the first girl that my boyfriend had ever brought home, like, and to introduce to like... So I had to look good. I had to like this. So, and and I kind of felt the pressure, but it was amazing. I got to wear his sister's wedding sari, which was like a beautiful like emerald green. And yeah, it was beautiful, but like I was just exhausted. Like I was like, after it ended, I was like, I need a holiday. Like, and it's not even, it's not like my wedding, but like, yeah, but it was such an amazing experience. So you can understand why, like, it's just so they live for it, like in the culture.
That's honestly one of my bucket list things to be
should go,
invited to an Indian wedding and an Iranian one as well.
Oh
That's
yeah, Persian
really
weddings are meant to be like, whoo. I mean, I've seen a lot of Turkish weddings in Berlin, like they're like, because they're pretty extra.
Big.
Yeah, they go big too, right? And they're always down the street like boop boop boop, like honking, and everyone's having a good time.
We do the same in Bulgaria.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
make sure that everybody knows we're getting married.
Yeah, and I think the kind of like Italy used to be like that, but it's kind of lost it a little bit now. And like we had friends that had a big Macedonian wedding like back in the day and stuff, and it was like just such a party. And Greek, right? Like my brother married a Greek girl, and so we had like, I mean, a tamed down version of like a Greek wedding, but
it's just these intercultural things are so beautiful. Like I
Isn't
also
it?
had my Kiwi being on a Bulgarian wedding, and they're trying to teach him how to dance our traditional dancing.
Amazing.
And my auntie comes to me and she says, please never leave him alone. No. Why? Was he so embarrassing?
Yeah.
She's like, please don't do that again. I'm like, no, just let him have his fun and then bring him the alcohol, trying to get him wasted. And stuff. It just you can't explain it to anyone.
And I think there's a lot of like, it's always like the extended family that never really get it. You're like, okay, right, whatever.
Well,
like,
but at the end of the day, I think the beautiful part is we choose the partners that are best for us. And the family is extra. And if we love each other, then even better. But I need to love you and you need to accept me for who I am. And that's what matters.
And that's what's the beautiful part about it. And I think that's why, like, when it's hard. Like, I mean, I assume with you, right? Like, you've been traveling a lot. You've, like, been very independent. And then, when you're looking for a man, like sometimes you're not even looking and it just happens. That's what happened with my boyfriend. But like I was
looking.
Oh, you were looking. I mean,
like, please.
No. I was just out of a relationship and I was like, fuck man. Like I was fully ready to give it up and just be like, I'm done. And he walked into my life. So
that's when it happens.
I know.
When you proactively look, you just get the shit.
Yeah.
And then when you don't want it at all and they're like, hello, it's me, I've arrived.
It's literally like when you're not looking, or if you're like dating heavily. Like my friend found this guy, but she was like going on like 10 dates a week. Like she was just like
in the game.
Yeah, so you either have to be like that or like not. But I think it's like the in the middle where you're like, oh, and I've been there for a long time.
Half desperate, half
exactly. Exactly. It's always.
Did you date a German?
I did date Germans. I dated French, Italian. Because I mean, living in Berlin is a very mixed and multicultural city, that's what I loved about Berlin. And I dated a lot of like Brazilians and Colombians, which didn't end well. And I think, but Germans were interesting. I never like I dated this guy for a little bit, but like not anything serious like with Germans. Cause like, I don't know, like all my girlfriends in Berlin, like they all ended up with Germans. Two of my really good friends have German guys and they're very endearing when you find, but they both found Berliners though. Berliners are a bit different.
Berliners are different.
They're and like these are born and bred German Berliner boys, like, and they're different, right? And they're more like, they've got that more sass, but more of a vibe. And, but yeah, like, I went on a date once with this like a guy in Bonn or Cologne, and it was just like a Bumble date. And like 5 minutes in, he's like, "Yeah, what is your 5-year financial plan?" Like I have this joke about it, right? And I was like, like he wanted to know my plan for the future because he's like, "You're an artist, yeah, but do you make some money? Do you make some money? Do you make money? Do you have like a plan? Do you have pension? Do you have have a fallback plan?" And I'm like, fuck, like I just met you, right? I feel like,
do you know this Instagram account? His name is Yannick. He does these kind of videos where he's like what it is to date a German, and then he would be like waking up after a date. He's like,
this guy,
yeah. So you forgot to turn on the.
Yeah. I know. I don't know him, but I think he's in Berlin. I think he's based in Berlin. There's a few of I mean, Berlin content just like always hits. Like German Berlin content is always a safe bet because there's just to make fun of in that city. Like, honestly.
Did you make it to Berghain?
I never went to Berghain. It wasn't for me. Like, I'm not a techno person. I went to Kit Kat a few times. Like, Kit Kat was more my vibe. Yeah, a few other kind of like random clubs. I never went to Sisyphus either. Like, I didn't go out because anything like that was going to take me hours to get in, I was like, no. I don't wait. I don't
Do you know
wait.
who I am?
No, it's not just like that.
Have you ever pulled that off?
No, never. No. No, the only time I've got into Kit Kat a few times, but that's because I was with my friends who were like drag queens and they were like fully dressed up and we just went to the front of the line. And like once you live there in the city, you end up knowing people. Like I know one of the DJs at Kit Kat who could always just get me on the door and like stuff like that. But yeah, no, I never like, I think that's the thing. Like when you know people, you can be like, yeah, just put me on the door. They're like, okay, right. Berghain, no, I didn't, because I think it's more gay. Like I have a lot of gay friends that go there like most weekends and stuff like that. But it wasn't for me. Like it's not my vibe. Techno.
What's your vibe?
My vibe is, more Kit Kat, more like sexually open, more free. Like I think, but I'm not a clubber anyway. Like I'm not a huge, massive clubber. Like it takes a lot. And I think my boyfriend likes going to festivals and club, and I'm like, it's not me.
Festivals?
Yeah.
Like techno stuff? Or?
Not techno. He's more like Anjuna Deep, like these kind of vibe. I don't know if you know, like it's a bit more. So we're actually going to one in Albania in a couple of weeks, like in June. We're going to go there.
You're literally crossing Europe, like the world, as if it's just your back door. Like
yeah, and do you know what? That's what I love. Like I love about living in Europe. I loved now that I'm not like there, but I felt like Europe was my city, like, and I would just fly. I'd go and do gigs in Barcelona. I'd take the train down to Luxembourg, or, I'd go over to Prague for the weekend, do shows, and like, yeah, it's quite amazing to feel like the globe is kind of like your office, like where you can be
it
like,
is, but
yeah.
it's also exhausting. Tell me, please, you fly business class?
No, I only fly business class if it's a red-eye flight and a long-haul flight. That's my only thing. But I still I have lounge access. I do it all that sort of stuff, which it makes life a little easier. And
my goodness, you're a brave woman.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll last minute I'll be like upgrade, but I don't think it's really worth it, right? For that.
For short flights, okay.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you're traveling Europe, I don't know, India regularly or something
only
like
10
that.
10 hours. And most of the time I'm like, that's the flights from India to Europe are mainly during the day. They're like day flights, which is fine. Like I can handle that because you arrive at night and then you just go to bed and you're like, whatever. Day flights are fine for me. It's the red eye flights that kill me now. And so that I'm always making sure that I I do it well. Or for example, getting even to India or to Asia, I do this thing where I arrange my tour where I go from maybe, where did I go from once? I went from somewhere to Istanbul. Oh no, I went to Sofia, Bulgaria, then went to Istanbul, did shows. I have. I've done shows in Sofia and also Plovdiv as well.
Was it?
Yeah, it was fun. Really, I actually need to go back. I haven't been back since 2023. I actually had the worst time in Sofia because that's when we were going around talking about my grandma, what we're gonna do. And I was so sick. I swear I had COVID and I was so sick, and we were talking about killing my grandma, all this sort of stuff. And I was in Sofia. It was raining. It was so I couldn't get an Uber because I didn't have Uber at that point.
You don't do this kind of shit.
No, it's you fucking have to get on an app, and then this guy calls you. He's like, duh, okay, I'll come pick you up. And then you just in a random car with some dude, and he was driving like this with his arm back, and he's on his phone with hardcore, hardcore techno. And I was like, I'm gonna die. But the audiences were fucking great. I met this girl, Ellena or Ellena, I think that's how you say it, who was on the Bachelorette or something in.
Oh, Ellena.
Yeah.
Greetings to her. She was one of the finalists.
Yeah. So she's we're friends on Instagram and stuff like that. So she came to the show as well, which was super cool. And I was like, oh my God, I need to know all about it. She was super cool. But I need to go back. Yeah. I haven't been for ages, for years. And the audiences were again, thirsty for it, right? Just wanting bigger comics to come through Sofia or through Bulgaria. It's the same how I feel here in Bali, right? There's not many, because it's more the visa issue to get here and do all that. But I love
I would love if you're going back to Bulgaria. I'm definitely flying to see you there in my home
but I was saying, so I would go from Sofia to Istanbul,
you take the short,
to then across to Mumbai, so it's only 5 hours, and then it's 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever. So yeah, that is easy.
By the way, on the topic of the name, so we have probably the majority of the women are named Elena in Bulgaria, but I know that you're Elena.
Elena, it's the Italian pronunciation.
Yeah,
because I think Spanish and Russian and like Bulgarian, like they say Elena. Russian and like even like in that way Ukrainian I think as well, Elena. But Italy is like Elena. It's like Elena, and
But you mentioned Croatia as well.
So my nonna was from this Istria, which is a state in Croatia, but back in the day it was an Italian state. So it was like it's why the Italians left, because all of the the communists were like killing all of the Italians, and they were like disappearing in the middle of the night. So the family didn't feel safe after World War II and left, and then weren't accepted in Italy because technically they weren't Italians either, and so they got refugee status in Australia. Had no idea where the fuck they were going and took a boat for 6 weeks, to Australia. So like just crazy, like
that we can't even imagine.
I know, like here I am like flying and I'm doing this and I'm like, to take a boat for 6 weeks to a place like no.
But you don't even know whether you're gonna arrive and where you're gonna
exactly
arrive.
Right. Yeah. No Google, no nothing. Like the open seas, open seas. I'm like, damn. But anyway, so that's like the history is kind of, but now Croatia, former Yugoslavia, and my nonno was from like outside of Venice. So, and I still have family in Milan as well, so I go and visit them quite often.
So theoretically, just 100% Italian, swearing and speaking like Australian.
Yeah. Oh, my dad's side is German, Prussian history. Yeah. So that's where like my surname is actually Baum, which is a German word. So like a lot of the Germans were like, it's a tree.
Do you speak German?
A name.
Wow. How come?
Because
you need to in Berlin, right?
You don't need to in Berlin.
To get lazy
I tried. I honestly tried. I did one class.
That's a lot of effort to put there.
I did a half an hour German class during COVID because I was like, you know what? Maybe I will stay here. But I always knew I was going to leave. And I sat in the class and she was like, ugh. And I was like, ugh. And I was, and I just felt, it just didn't feel right in my mouth. And I was like, I can't. So then I was like, I started learning French and did more Italian instead. So I was like, okay. French is actually more of a better language for me to learn because I do shows in Canada, in Luxembourg, in France, in all these places Belgium where they speak French, so it's more helpful in that way. So
it's a prettier language, let's be honest. It sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it's just difficult, the accent, but it was easier for me to learn because of the Italian, so I kind of had that base at least.
You are fluent in Italian.
No, I keep forgetting it and my family only spoke a dialect, like Veneto dialect, so which is very different to even Tuscan, which is like the proper Italian. And but when I go back, it comes back, but it's not written or anything. It's just conversationally.
Well, maybe a next beautiful challenge for you would be to make a show in Italy in Italian.
Yeah, I translated a couple of sets into Italian and I never did it in public, but like, I remember rehearsing it and I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Because it was so like over the top and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, like that would be
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like, you have a different personality when I'm sure you have a different, when you speak Bulgarian, like you have a different personality.
For sure.
Whereas I
also speak German, by the way.
Oh, you do? Oh, wow. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Ja, genau.
I was called exotic in Germany. So I lived in Germany for 7 years.
Oh, wow. Where were you living?
In Stuttgart.
In Stuttgart, nice.
Germans. You were where the international stuff were going on. I was with the real Germans.
Yeah.
So I had to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love Stuttgart because I feel like it's the city where everyone escapes from. Because everyone I meet around the world, a German girl, I'm like, where are you from? They're like, from a village near Stuttgart. And you're like,
all of them. I just met the others.
A guy at the show last night or Friday night, he was sitting there and I'm like, where are you from? He's like, Stuttgart. And I was like, of course, right? Like just like a village near Stuttgart.
Well, that's where the...
Yeah, true. And they still haven't finished that fucking train station, but they will get there eventually.
I don't know when, but we'll see about that.
Probably never, let's be honest.
Well,
it'll be like the Sagrada Familia. It'll just keep
At least Sagrada Familia is beautiful. This is just...
German bureaucracy? Come on, no.
Yeah, but it just looks ugly. I don't know when was the last time you've been to Stuttgart.
I was there in February, March. Apparently they said it's nearly done, but anyway, this is not fun to talk about on a podcast.
Ever since I was a student there, which is 10 years ago. Anyway, so I'm looking at our time. I've loved our conversation, but before we wrap it up, I have a few questions that I want you to answer quickly, what
Like
at
a
the top
rapid
of your
fire?
head.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
So don't overthink it. Just go for it. I ask all my guests. So they do go a little bit deep, but whatever comes at the top of your head. So, Elena, what are you the most proud of in your life?
What am I the most proud of in my life? I think it's, I guess, at the moment it's my business, right? Like to be able to be a like solo female comedian, traveling the world, doing everything by herself and building like quite a good career from that. I think that's something, I mean, I don't have kids. I know a lot of people say when they're proud of something, but I think it's definitely my work and the community I feel like I've also built doing this, like introducing people to people or, you know, people who come back to shows or just having this like community around the world in so many different cities and yeah, and making people laugh. Everyone needs to laugh, right? Yeah.
What matters to you the most right now in life?
Family. Yeah, family is that matters, I think, the most to me right now. Yeah, family.
What's the boldest move you've made that rarely gets acknowledged?
Boldest move. I think it was breaking up with my boyfriend at the time back in 2020 and taking this leap and doing it myself. I think that was a big transition for me that I was very scared of. And you know, my friends still say now, like, I'm so glad that you did that. But it was, that was the biggest, boldest move I made and the biggest challenge in myself. And I was very scared of it at the time. So it
job,
happens.
Girl. Good job.
Yeah.
You should be proud.
Yeah, you don't have to be scared about getting out of a bad relationship. I think that was like the biggest thing that I learned, that life is always better after that. Much better.
It's hard to get out, but once you're out, you realize how much better you're doing. This podcast is for women who know they're meant for more. What would be your piece of advice for these women who know they're meant for more, yet they're feeling stuck?
I think the best thing that people can do when they're feeling stuck is to reach out or find a community, maybe a new community that can help you with that, right? I think the thing about being a woman in this day and age, or even back, God, for thousands of years probably, like we have other women to help us and to support us. And I think it's, you know, never be scared. If you have something you want to do in life, there's always going to be a community there to support you and to help you like along the way, and to never be scared of failure, I think, in that way as well. Because I think a lot of that fear always comes from, like, you know, if you want to start a podcast, you want to start a business, like the same with me, like that fear was stopping me for so long. And I think once you overcome that fear of failure, that fear of whatever, and reach out to people who can also help you. And I think that's the beauty of being a woman, is having a community that can help you in that situation, and to not feel the fear and to not be scared of failure.
Thank you so very much,
You're so
Elena. It was
welcome.
an absolutely pleasure, honor, and thank you for making it happen, for coming all the way from the world to be in my podcast. Of course, not because you have a show in Bali or anything.
No, I mean, I was supposed to do it in December, but I was so sick last year. I lost my voice so many times, and I got sick again when I came back to Bali in December. And like, I feel like it was a long, like I really wanted to come, but now I had more time. I had more space, mentally, physically, all of that. And thank you for hosting me, and thank you for this gorgeous little studio. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the podcast comes out. But thanks for having me.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.